Hi everybody, I'm Rosemary, and today I have 20 more Dollar Tree Shower Caddy organization hacks. This time focusing on the kitchen and pantry, where I will show you multiple ways that I hacked ordinary Dollar Tree shower caddies to create more than 20 kitchen and pantry organization ideas. In part 1, I covered bath, hair, makeup, accessory, jewelry, and more organizing ideas, and if you haven't seen it yet, I will link it here and in the description. But for now, let's jump into the kitchen, where I'm going to start with a quick and easy hack to help organize baking, roasting, and frying pans. Now, these are the Dollar Tree shower caddies, and you usually find these in the bath section of the Dollar Tree. And what I'm going to do is take 2 of the shower caddies and place them head to head, and then slide the hook parts underneath of the wire frame. Next comes the zip ties, and I'm going to zip tie the hook of one caddy to the bottom shelf of the other, and then where the 2 caddies meet. And then if you're not familiar with zip ties, all you need to do is take the tie, wrap it around the 2 portions you want to connect, and then slide the end through the lock and pull tight. Then just cut off the tails. And then that's it. Putting the 2 caddies together in this way creates an excellent pan rack that fits nicely in a standard size cabinet. Now I just want to point out that this combination creates multiple equal size slots and then one larger slot there in the middle. The smaller slots are perfect for your standard size baking, roasting, and frying pans, and the center slot fits perfectly a standard sized loaf pan. Another option for the larger space would be to use it for oven mitts and pot holders. Or you can add one of these Dollar Tree baskets to the middle and use it to store multiple different items, including cooking utensils. Now here you can see the rack in the cabinet, and you can see how nicely it fits and how all the roasting, baking, and frying pans fit so nicely. And also those ends where the hooks are, that's a perfect spot to store some cutting boards. Next, I'm going to use one of the caddies to create a pot lid holder. And to do that, I'm going to just bend up the first 2 rungs of the rack. Then I'm going to use a wire cutter to remove the cross pieces on the second 2 rungs. And I'll just continue with that all the way across the top. And then I will flip it over and continue to clip those cross pieces there along the bottom. Now I'm keeping that frame in place. I want the frame to stay. Just remove all of the cross pieces. And then once that's done, I can just go ahead and bend it up like I did the top 2 rungs. And then all you need to do is take your lids and slide them into the slots. Now because my lids are this kind of thicker glass type lid, I wasn't able to use the second slot, but could easily put my other lids into the 3rd and 4th slots. But if you do have thinner lids, you may be able to use all 4 slots. And then here is the lid rack hanging on the inside of my cabinet door. And I did use a command hook to hang the rack, but always make sure that you buy the correct weight and follow all of the package instructions. Now, if you are still looking for a home for those oven mitts and cooking utensils, this next hack may be a good solution. So for this one, I'm going to take one of the shower caddies and one of the utility hooks and zip tie the 2 together. Then I'll use the upper portion to hold the mitts and the hooks at the bottom to hold the cooking utensils. And then here you can see everything come together, and I even have space for a couple of those silicone fingertip mitts that I put there on the shelf in between. Here's a quick and easy way to get herbs, spices, and other seasonings organized and off the counter. For this one, I took another caddy and folded the first rung down and back. Then I took one of these Dollar Tree organization bins and zip tied it to the back of the frame. That makes a perfect holder for spice bottles, and then the shelves below can also be used. Here I put some rubs as well as broth packets and bouillon cubes, and the hooks below can be used for dish towels, mitts, etc. Now, if you are in need of more bottle space, here is another spice rack from a shower caddy that I did in a previous DIY, which I will link here and in the description. Now that you've made lots of wonderful food, here's a quick and easy plate and utensil caddy, also great for cookouts. I just took 2 of the caddies and zip tied them back to back. On one side, I folded down the top rung to better accommodate the plates. Then I took 4 of these mesh pencil holders from the Dollar Tree and zip tied them to the sides of the caddy using these small zip ties that I got also from Dollar Tree. Also, I wanted to point out that when I attach the cups, I am attaching them to the second rung on the caddy. That's because on the one side I did fold down the first rung, so just be aware of that as you are attaching them. Also wanted to point out that I did leave the little feet on this caddy because I kind of think it adds to the aesthetics, and since the items are lightweight, it's not going to cause too much of a balancing issue. And then here you can see the finished caddy all ready for the cookout. Down at the bottom section I was able to place some napkins, and then in the cups, of course, all of the utensils, and in the front I have the plates, and if you go around the back I have space for some bowls. And then here you can see it on the bowl side, and you'll notice that the other side, the plate side, has just the 2 rungs and the bowl side has 3. Now for the next set of caddies I'm going to be doing the same thing where I'm going to zip tie 2 of the shower caddies back to back. Except for these, I'm going to actually go ahead and remove the little feet. Now this is in order to get more balance because the items I'm going to be using in these next caddies are heavier items and they will kind of topple one side to the other if you don't remove. And then again, I'm just going to go ahead and zip tie the 2 caddies back to back. And then that will create a sturdy standalone caddy for all types of different things, starting with a condiment caddy for that cookout. Now, even though I add heavy, full-size bottles of mustard and ketchup to the one side, the caddy is balanced and doesn't topple. But I will be adding some barbecue sauce and mayo to the other side. Then underneath there's space for one of these acrylic 3-section bins with a lid that I also got from Dollar Tree, and they're great for adding things like pickles, relish, and onions. You can even add labels to the containers if you like, and you can see what a nice presentation that it makes on your table or counter. And it also makes it easy to transport the items from space to space. Another option would be a dressing caddy, and with the addition of some fixins down below like olives, bacon, and cheese, you can make your own little salad bar. And then how about some sundaes for dessert? You can just add some whipped cream and syrups, and then things like sprinkles, nuts, and cherries down the bottom. And for those who enjoy a nice cup of coffee with dessert, how about a syrup caddy? And you can add different sweeteners there down below. Speaking of coffee, how about a nice coffee, tea, and cocoa caddy? For this one, I'm going to snip the handle off right around where it bends with some wire cutters. Then I'm going to take some of these headbands that I also got from the Dollar Tree and just place those around where the 2 hooks are at the bottom. Next, I'm going to take some of those white organization bins, and I need 3 of those, and luckily they do come 3 for $1. Then I'm going to place one of the bins on the bottom shelf, one on the shelf above, and then the third one will go on that top rung. Then I'm going to zip tie those into place by tying the zip tie through the slots in the basket and then around the metal frame of the caddy. And I'm going to do that on both the right and left sides and in the middle on both the top and the bottom of each bin. For the top one, I'll just zip tie there along the bottom. Then on the bottom where the bands are, I can add some tea bags. In the bins, I can do some coffee pods. Then in the space between the first and second bin, I can also add some packets of hot cocoa. Now that we have the coffee organized, how about a spot for some mugs? I'm going to start by again removing the handle from the caddy, but this time the frame is going to be mounted underneath of a cabinet or shelf. Now pretend for a moment that this is the underside of your cabinet or shelf. If you were hanging lightweight items such as dish towels, you can get away with using some command type hooks that you could place like shown to attach the rack. However, if you want to use a rack like this for heavier items such as mugs and glasses, you will definitely need to use one of these strap type brackets like the ones I'm using here from Closet Made. These brackets are then screwed into the wood on the underside of the shelf or cabinet. You can get these Closet Made brackets at Lowe's or Home Depot and even on Amazon, and I will supply a link in the description. Now here you can see the hook version installed on the underside of my cabinet. This is the underneath view, and then here it is from the front view. From here I can add some towels to the open racks and then use some S-hooks to store some utensils or other lightweight items. Now this next option is really neat, but you definitely need to use brackets screwed into the wood. The hooks will definitely not cut it for these heavier items because you're not just needing to worry about the weight, but you're also working against gravity. Let's have some more fun with this rack idea and head on over to the pantry. For this one, I'm again going to remove those cross pieces on the bottom 2 shelves using my wire cutters. Then I'm going to remove the handle, but this time I'm going to cut down closer to that horizontal piece. Then I'm going to take the hooks at the bottom of the caddy and bend them backwards in the opposite direction. So now your rack should look like this. And basically what you'll be able to do now is slide that on to the bottom of your shelf, and the hooks at the front will support the front of the rack, and then you can add a couple of hooks or brackets to the back of the rack to support the back end. From there, you can add one of these Dollar Tree organization bins that fit perfectly in the rack and create a perfect home for snack items, sponges, cloths, and the like. And then here you can see the empty rack with the bent back rack hooks secured to the edge of the shelf. And then if you take a look underneath, you can see the command hooks supporting the back end. Then the basket can be placed in the rack and used either as a drawer, or remove the bin completely and use it as serveware. Alternately, you can just place items directly onto the rack like I did here with my parchment and wax papers, giving me extra space so I didn't have to pile the boxes on top of each other. And then here is a quick and easy hanging option for food wrap and bags. All you need to do is take one of the caddies and remove the third shelf. Then voila! Instant food wrap box holders. You can make multiples and hang them side by side on an over-the-door hook, or zip tie two together vertically to create a super space-saving option. Another pantry organization staple is the root vegetable bin, and I'm going to make one by again folding down the first rung of the shower caddy and then adding one of these oval metal baskets. Then I'm going to flatten out a little bit by squeezing the sides together. Then I'm going to attach it to the caddy with some zip ties by threading the ties through the weave of the basket and around the back horizontal bar of the caddy. Then I will also add 2 more zip ties around the top of the basket and then around the handle, but notice that I'm leaving a little bit of slack for those to accommodate the smaller size of the basket. Lastly, I will add 1 zip tie to the bottom. Next, I'm going to add a second basket, which I will also flatten out a little bit to the bottom of the caddy by bending in the bottom hooks a little bit and pushing the hooks through the weave of the basket. I will then further secure the basket with 3 more zip ties attached loosely to the bottom shelf. Lastly, I'll just add these wire rectangle baskets that you can find in the kitchen section to the shelves. And then here you can see my bin filled with some onions and some garlic in that first rectangular basket. And then I added some chicken stock in that second shelf. And at the bottom, the bin is filled with some potatoes. Now, if you need more space for your potatoes, another option would be to use one of these nylon mesh bags that you can get in the laundry area, and they come 3 to a pack, and they're made of this really durable, non-tearable nylon, and you can use, again, the bottom hooks at the bottom of the caddy to attach the bag. Just simply push it through the holes in the nylon mesh, and then also use a few zip ties along the top of the bag, and then you're good to go. Just fill it up with your contents. And then here is another versatile pantry storage option. And I'm going to make it the same way as I made the previous one, except this time I'll be using 2 of these large basket weave plastic bins. Now these bins are a great size, and you can see how they can hold 9 packages of ramen, multiple bags of rice or ready pasta, how about some tuna pouches and meal kits, or some popcorn and mac and cheese boxes. To attach the top basket, I threaded zip ties underneath of the horizontal bar and through the basket weave in the middle of the basket, and then also 2 zip ties towards the top through the second row of the basket weave and around the handle of the caddy. In order to create clearance to get items in and out of the second bin, I had to remove the crossbars in front of the bottom shelf with some wire cutters, but made sure to retain that back horizontal bar. Next, I pushed the bottom hooks through the basket weave, but I did so on the second row of the weave, leaving the first row so that I could thread through a zip tie and attach the basket to the frame at that spot. I also added 3 more zip ties going through the weave of the basket and then attaching it to that bottom horizontal bar. Lastly, I just bent those hooks upwards to further secure the basket. And then it's ready to fill with all your goodies, and you still do have that middle caddy shelf available. Here I just again added one of those rectangular wire baskets, but you can use the shelf as is as well. You can also make multiples of these and hang them side by side on one of those Dollar Tree over-the-door multi-hook units. Well, I hope you have enjoyed part 2 of this Shower Caddy Organization Hacks series. Be sure to check back for part 3, where I will be doing Shower Caddy Hacks for the laundry room, garage, home office, craft room, and more. And again, if you would like to check out part 1 of this series, I will leave a link in the description box below. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time on FABEDhacks, where we're putting the extra and ordinary one DIY at a time.